air was thick with tension as Emma Hartley sat huddled over her cluttered desk, surrounded by dim lamplight and the glow of her computer screen. An investigative journalist with a passion for the unexplained, Emma had stumbled upon a haunting trend in her research. Stories of the elusive Shadownman, intrigued and compelled by the eerie similarities in the accounts of those who claimed to have encountered this malevolent figure during sleep paralysis, she decided to delve deeper. Her apartment, usually filled with the comforting hum of the city life, now seemed to echo with an unsettling silence. Emma meticulously sifted through her notes, transcribing the spine-chilling experiences of those who had been visited by the Shadownman in the realm between wakefulness and slumber. Their descriptions painted a vivid picture: a tall, shadowy figure with an indistinct, featureless form lurking at the edge of their paralyzed perception. Emma's fascination had morphed into a relentless quest for understanding. She reached out to witnesses, poring over forums and conducting interviews with those who had bravely shared their stories. As the journalist's obsession grew, so did the shadows that seemed to dance at the periphery of her own consciousness. One fateful night, as Emma succumbed to the embrace of sleep, she found herself ensnared in the clutches of paralysis. Panic set in as her mind struggled against the immovable weight that pinned her to the bed. She felt a presence, an otherworldly malevolence that seemed to seep through the very fabric of her reality. In the suffocating darkness, the Shadownman materialized, a silhouette devoid of light, a shape that defied the laws of nature. It stood, or rather loomed, over Emma with an oppressive aura. She could feel its gaze, though she saw no eyes, piercing through the core of her being. The encounter was brief, yet eternally haunting. Emma awoke, gasping for breath, bathed in cold sweat and clutching at the fragments of a fading nightmare. Her once passionate pursuit of the truth had transformed into a relentless nightmare that now bled into her waking hours. Days turned into sleepless nights as Emma struggled to make sense of the darkness that had invaded her life. The Shadownman, once a mysterious entity confined to the tales of others, had become an uninvited guest in her own reality. The journalist's quest for understanding had morphed into a desperate battle against an unseen adversary that seemed to thrive on fear. As Emma delved into the shadows that enveloped her, the line between investigative journalist and tormented subject began to blur. The cryptic writings and drawings that would later confound those who sought her out had their origins in the fractured depths of her own unraveling mind. Little did she know that her journey into the enigma of the Shadownman would lead to a harrowing conclusion, one that would leave behind only echoes of truth, too dark to comprehend. Emma's days became a haze of exhaustion, her nights a battleground between wakefulness and the shadowy realm of sleep paralysis. The encounters with the Shadownman intensified, each visitation more vivid and suffocating than the last. The journalist's one-sharp mind began to fray at the edges as she teetered on the precipice of a reality unraveling. Desperation led Emma to seek solace in the expertise of sleep specialists, psychiatrists, and even paranormal investigators. Yet, as medical tests returned normal and skeptics dismissed her experiences as mere manifestations of stress, Emma found herself increasingly isolated. The more she probed into the mysteries of the Shadownman, the deeper she descended into a labyrinth of uncertainty. Her apartment, once a sanctuary, transformed into a twisted reflection of her unraveling psyche. Walls seemed to close in on her, and shadows lingered in every corner. Emma's pursuit of the truth had become a harrowing journey into the recesses of her own mind. One evening, as she scoured through her collection of interviews and notes, a chilling realization struck her. The commonalities in the descriptions of the Shadownman were not limited to its appearance alone. Witnesses spoke of a malevolent force that seemed to feed on their fear, growing stronger with each encounter. With trepidation, Emma wondered if the Shadownman was more than a mere figment of sleep paralysis, a psychological manifestation. What if it was a manifestation of collective fear, a malevolent energy that had somehow taken form? The thought sent shivers down her spine, for it hinted at a reality more terrifying than any supernatural entity. Fueled by a mix of fear and determination, Emma sought out others who had experienced the Shadownman. Reaching beyond the confines of her research, she discovered a disparate group of individuals, each haunted by their own encounters. Together, they formed an alliance bound by the shared torment inflicted by the enigmatic figure. In dimly lit meeting rooms and hushed conversations, the group shared their stories, comparing notes and experiences. They sought patterns and connections, desperate for some semblance of control over the malevolent force that had invaded their lives. Yet, with each meeting, the shadows seemed to grow darker, and the weight of their collective fear pressed down upon them. As they delved deeper into the mysteries of the Shadownman, the Alliance uncovered an ancient folklore, an esoteric knowledge that hinted at the entity's existence beyond the realm of sleep. Emma's journalistic instincts merged with the group's shared desperation, propelling them into a dark underbelly of occult practices and forgotten rituals. But with each step closer to the truth, the threat of the Shadownman loomed larger. The group's once united front began to fracture as paranoia and distrust took hold. Emma, caught in the crossfire of her own unraveling mind and the disintegrating alliance, found herself standing at the precipice of a revelation that threatened to consume them all. The answer to the mystery lay just beyond reach, obscured by the shadows that clung to the edges of their reality. As the alliance dissolved into chaos, Emma's obsession with the Shadownman reached its zenith. She delved into forbidden texts, ancient rituals, and esoteric knowledge, desperate for a solution that would banish the malevolent entity from her life. The boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred further, and the once cohesive group now scattered into the darkness, each member grappling with their own private horrors. Emma's apartment transformed into a makeshift occult chamber, adorned with symbols and surrounded by candles that flickered in the oppressive atmosphere. Sleep became a distant memory as she ventured into the shadowy realm willingly, seeking a confrontation with the very entity that had become an indelible part of her existence. In a climatic night, surrounded by the eerie glow of candlelight, Emma initiated a ritual she believed would sever the connection with the Shadownman. As incantations echoed through the room, the shadow seemed to writhe, responding to the energy she unleashed. A palpable tension hung in the air as she felt the presence drawing closer. The ritual reached its zenith, and Emma found herself face to face with the Shadownman, its form more defined and terrifying than ever. As the room pulsated with otherworldly energy, she confronted the entity with a mixture of terror and defiance. The malevolent force seemed to pause, as if considering her challenge. In a fleeting moment, Emma glimpsed the abyss within the entity, an abyss that mirrored the darkness in her own soul. The realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. The Shadow-Man was not a separate entity, it was an extension of her own fears, given life through the collective terror of those who had encountered it. In the aftermath of the ritual, Emma's apartment became a silent chamber of solitude. The alliance, fractured and broken, left only echoes of its existence. The journalist, now both victor and victim, struggled to comprehend the profound revelation. With the ritual's completion, the encounters with the Shadow-Man ceased, leaving Emma in an eerie silence. The apartment, once a battleground, now bore witness to her transformation. Yet the victory was bittersweet, for Emma knew the truth carried a heavy price. Haunted by the memories of her descent into the abyss, she left behind a series of cryptic writings and drawings, messages for those who might follow in her footsteps. The shadows, though subdued, lingered in the corners of her consciousness, a constant reminder of the thin line between reality and the realms unseen. As those who came across her enigmatic legacy attempted to decipher the message, they too felt the pull of the shadows, an echo of the nightmare that had consumed Emma Hartley. The truth remained elusive, hidden in the interplay between fear and the unknown, echoing in the shadows that stretched across the edges of human understanding.